Hello, Christian. Welcome to our second session. Hello, everyone who is listening to our second session of Excellence Talk. Today, you can see that I'm in the Tikopia Island. Tikopia Island, if you watch the first series of our Excellence Talk, Alexander Hasner suggested to visit the Tikopia Island. Therefore, I'm here. As you can see here, that wonderful nature, and hopefully with the sustainable development goals, it will be for forever. It will be this way. Hello, Christian.
Hello, my friend Murat. I envy you. I can see the palm tree and the water and everything. I can still feel the breeze. Are you well, Murat?
Thank you. I'm very fine. Everything is going well, of course, with this wonderful nature also. And what about you? How are you?
I'm also fine, thank you. I'm back in my home office. And 2 days ago, I had a first haircut after 8 weeks, so I feel much better now.
Exactly.
This is still a Corona time for those who might watch this later.
Today, we decided that we will be together. We will not have guest speaker, because we will discuss about business excellence. And actually, of course, you are the right person. You are one of the most expert person in the world who can talk about business excellence.
Let me say, Murat, I guess we are some of the top people to discuss this, since we both have many years of experience in not only teaching excellence, but using and applying excellence in real organizations with real people who earn real money. And excellence is part of it, right?
Exactly. You have been already introduced yourself in the first series, but maybe it's also linked to the business excellence. Could you please introduce yourself again, especially in the domain of business excellence?
In the domain of excellence, yeah. I'm a nuclear physicist, and I worked for Siemens 25 years. And after the first 10 years, where I designed nuclear power plants, I was suddenly into excellence, into business excellence. Why is that? Since the president of Siemens Power Generation, an organization of 16,000 people at that time, we talk about the year of 1995, he decided he wants to go for business excellence and use the EFGM model, one of the well-known business excellence models in the world. Well, and he pointed at me, one of these 16,000, and said, do you want to be my manager on this? Do you want to be my business excellence manager for the next 2 or 3 years? Since I want to win the award, he said. And I said, okay. I have not too much knowledge about it, but let's give it a try. And 3 years later, we were finalists as the first and biggest organization that has ever used the EFGM model in 1998. Yes. And in 1999, we were finalists for a second time. And then there were political issues and business problems. And so to make a long story short, Siemens at the end decided that EFGM is not the management system that they want, and decided for something else that was more like process management. But these things happen. But looking back, it was a fantastic time introducing business excellence in an organization of 16,000 people, including 15 big factories, making big tools and machines for power generation. It was a great time. And there was clear evidence that this approach created business success. Murat, is it the same? If you look back to your experience, totally different business, I think. If I remember, it's about dental business, right? Is it the same that there is a connection between business excellence and business success?
Definitely, Christian. I work in GC Europe. It's a Japanese company. The root of a Japanese company, of course, going back to the quality mindset, the continuous improvement. I working very luckily in 10 years in the business excellence field at GC Europe and committed to quality and continuous improvement. We started the journey in GC Europe with the EFGM excellence model in 2005. And last year, as I mentioned in the first series, we received the Global Excellence Award in 2019. GC Europe becomes the first Japanese company, the first Benelux-oriented company, and first dental company in the world which gets this award. So therefore, it was a tremendous experience for me to be in this journey. And as you said, of course, this business excellence journey were completely linked that provided us all the business success, which satisfies all our stakeholders, which we will discuss, of course, today.
What a fantastic journey. And it took you 14 years to go there, imagine. In my case, and this is really true, we started in 1995 and 3 years later we were finalists. Well, probably this is due to the fact that EFChem was not so well known, and probably the targets were lower, and assessments were simpler, and it was easier to achieve high scores. But still, it takes, I think this is the first learning from here. It takes a couple of years to achieve higher level of excellence. I think, Murat, you have a fantastic quote from this Greek guy. What's his name again?
From Aristotle, what he say that excellence is never an accident. It's always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Not chance determines your destiny. So it's the quote from Aristotle. And as you say, it's a journey. And this actually is driven by the leaders to commit to this and then to achieve at the end the good and excellent results and becoming a world-class organizations.
Would you say, Murat, that we can achieve true excellence, or is it a never-ending journey?
It's a never-ending journey, of course, because you need to always maintain this, because the world is changing. Like the current situation, no one were expecting that we would have this situation with the pandemic, with the COVID. So therefore, especially in this world, VUCA, you know, what we always say, it's a continuous journey. You can never be in the top. So you need to continuously monitor the environment outside. What are the things that you can learn from the trends? And also the stakeholders, what we have, like customers, what they really think for, what they really need for. Associates, meaning that the people work in the companies, or suppliers, the needs of them are changing. So therefore, you need to be always careful and then maintain their satisfaction level. So therefore, it's a continuous journey because they are changing and you need to continuously maintain them. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I didn't stop with using excellence tools or EFChem in 1998, of course. I developed my own little business, and I'm celebrating 20 years now, having supported organizations around the world with excellence tools and approaches, and I've assessed many organizations. Some of them, by the way, were in Japan, and but it were only European organizations like Bosch. They have a couple of factories in Japan, and I've assessed them there. So it's a different story compared to yours, where GC is obviously a pure Japanese organization owned by a Japanese family, still, I understand, while Bosch is a European organization that just happens to be in Japan. But anyway, yes, it is a long journey, and I've helped organizations or assessed organizations on their way. Some of them have just started. I remember Bosch in Bursa in Turkey, in your home country.
Yes.
It was one of my first big customers as a self-employed consultant. I helped them to win.
They got 2 times the EFChem
Absolutely. So yeah, that is a fantastic story. Maybe
exactly.
That again tells a lot. Since they called me, the managing director of Bosch in Bursa, which had about 5,000 people at that time, he called me in 2004, okay? And he said, we've just won the Excellence Award in 2003, but we are frustrated, and people have lost all their grips in excellence, and can you please help us to win the award again 5 years later? And this was one of my biggest tasks in my journey, my own journey as a consultant, to help this organization to win the award again, and they won it in 2008. So it took us 4 years to bring this organization back, since they were already nosediving down. And there is another learning here, a very big learning. If you don't keep fighting for excellence, more or less every day, you lose it.
That actually that I want to ask a question. Why the achieving award? Because a lot of there are business excellence models, and EFQM is one of the most used one in Europe that actually GC Europe was using, and EFQM, the Bosch also was using. So my question: why the achieving award is important? What does it mean? What is the symbol of this?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure that it is important to win the award. Since if winning the award is the only target you have, the only goal you're going, then number one, you have problems, difficulties to challenge your people, since they might say the president wants the award, he wants to stand on stage. That's a direct quote from people back in 1996 or 7, okay? And the other thing is, what do you do after winning the award? So there are good arguments to say, forget all this award, keep trying, keep achieving higher goals, maybe even higher scores if you do assessments, but don't go for the award. On the other hand, managing directors, managers, people, leaders, whoever in organizations are like sports people. If you think you're good in running, swimming, biking, whatever you do, you want to compete with others. That's a natural desire. So I think this reward aspect is just a natural byproduct of excellence approaches like EFQM that were developed by people using them. And in fact, it was the case for EFQM. I know the history. EFQM was founded in 1988, if I remember correctly. And the first award was given away 5 or 6 years later. So the original concept of EFQM as one of the leading excellence tools in the world was just to improve competitiveness of organizations. At that time, from the European perspective, against Japan and against America, well, we are talking about the 90s. But the winning something was never part of the concept. Isn't that interesting?
Exactly. Then the question, of course, that the winning is, of course, is not the main goal, but it's a symbol, because you can say that like the sports people or a lot of different competition that you have. It's not maybe competition we should also call. But you can see that you are in the world-class organization, because you can compare yourself, and that like in the award assessment, that there are objective assessors who are visiting you, and they are visiting another companies, and then they are recognizing which company is the world-class organization that they recognize. Yes. And you can say that you are on the right track, and then you can be proud. You can be proud as an organization, and you can also see what are the areas for improvements that still you have, and what are the strengths of the organization that you have been already taught for. So therefore, it's an important way that you can identify, and then you can be achieving afterwards.
And this is a very important aspect, I think, Murat, as you say. As soon as you are winning an award or close to winning an award or something in using any of these excellence models around the world, I think there are 5 or 6 main models, and there are some derivatives. As soon as you are at this flight level, then you have so many excellent approaches and strategies that you can share your good practices with other organizations. In other words, if you radiate your excellence into the world, infecting other organizations, even in other branches, then you inspire these organizations to excel. And this is, I think, part of the whole concept.
We have already discussed business excellence. I think these terms used many times, as you know. And as a guru of business excellence, I can also call. How can you describe business excellence with your own words?
Well, it's basically simple. At the end, you want to achieve advantage for your own organization, advantage for your stakeholders. That is what you want to achieve as an organization. And then you're excellent if you achieve for yourself and for your stakeholders what you want to achieve. That can even be used for a family, right? The best examples for excellent organizations are very small ones, startup organizations, families, small businesses, family businesses. And they work even for large organizations. The biggest organization I've ever assessed was a Bosch organization of 75,000 people, a world business. Okay, but back to your question. If this is what you want to achieve, then the question is, how can you achieve it? And if you want to make all your stakeholders satisfied, happy, create advantage for them, then first of all, you would have to understand what they want, what their needs are. So you start with the stakeholders and turn their expectations into a strategy, which is a high-level answer, and then you go into all the processes in the organization and try to improve everything that you can, from production to marketing to design to whatever you have, and hope that you create the advantage that is expected. And if you find it's not enough, then you start again. So it's basically a circle that you go around in annual phases or cycles or 6-month cycles or whatever it is. And with every cycle, you hope you create more advantage and you are better and better. And it's like a spiral.
You explain very nicely this circle. This actually what we can say is the business excellence model, which actually the simplified version of the business excellence model, which all the companies can benefit.
It happens to me as well.
So we know that the many companies that they don't have the business excellence model, and they have the different management framework that they have. Maybe some of the organization doesn't have. And what you explain, this model of this cycle, is very important. And why do you think that it's very important for the companies to have this kind of model, that they should implement this business excellence model? And what is the difficulties? Because it seems very simple, but many companies cannot able to manage this. Why it is difficult to manage?
I think you've raised a fundamental question. All the excellence models that I've seen over the last more than 25 years around the world, including the American one, the Australian, or the one in Singapore, are quite complex. You need a couple of days to learn how they work, how they function. Then you have to use them. And Murat, you are a master assessor and an award assessor. You know what I'm talking about. And after using it for a couple of years, then probably you understand how this really works, and you can teach other people, you can teach organizations, you can assess and provide help and support. And I think the question really is, do we need these sophisticated models really, okay? Or isn't the basic principle much simpler? And I would rather go for B now. I think the basic idea is very simple. It's actually, at the end of the day, it's common sense. Since if you want to improve as a family, or as a family business, or as a little startup organization, you do basically what I just said a couple of minutes ago. You think, who are my stakeholders? In a family, it's simple. You have your wife, Murat, and you have 2 wonderful children, and you have your uncle and your friends, and this is the family and all their stakeholders. Very simple, and they all have an interest in you and in your family, so they are your stakeholders since they have a stake in you. And if you listen carefully to what they expect from you and what they want from you, and of course you cannot fulfill everything, since you cannot visit your grandmother every evening, since you have other things to do. So it's something that has to do with a balancing thing, right? So you try to find a good high-level answer that many people call a strategy. And if you have this high-level answer, how to balance all these expectations, well, then you go down into daily work, okay? Into cooking and buying stuff and teaching your children and whatever you have to do in a family or in a small business or in a big business. We call it processes. And then you try to optimize your processes to improve, and you measure everything that is important. And at the end, of course, you go up again to a higher level and hope that your stakeholders are more happy than they were a couple of weeks or months ago. This is a totally natural process. This is common sense, I would call it. And as you see behind me, this is a simple model. This is the simple model that I've developed over the last couple of years. This is just five steps. You don't need much more, okay? In practice, of course, if you want to assess processes of a Bosch organization, of GC Europe, then of course you need more sophistication, of course. But I'm convinced if people, business managers or presidents or family business owners, if they understand the basic principles, then I think they know what it really means. And this is more important than to understand all the details of a sophisticated model.
And the complications start because in a family, you have one of your main stakeholders is your wife, your husband, your children. But in a company, is that you have more stakeholders, then their expectations are getting more, and this is difficult to balance them. And this kind of model can help also to balance the expectations of the stakeholder in a way, such a holistic, such a sophisticated way that you can make them satisfy overall. Because if you have only focus, your customer will be happy. Or if you will be only focus, your shareholder will be happy. Or if you will only focus, your associate will be happy. Then you will have difficulties. So it's important how this kind of model can help you to maintain the satisfaction of all your stakeholders in a harmony, in such a harmony way, with the strategy, as you said, with the processes, what you say that implemented processes, and finding that what is the performance indicator and what is the benefit indicator to really understand, you create advantage for them. So
that's exactly the challenge, Murat. Absolutely, it's exactly the challenge. And I think we fully agree that this is the principle of excellence, and this is how you can achieve excellence. It is, the basic principles are simple. But if you go into a bigger organization, if you go into all these many processes and thousands of measurements and many stakeholders, of course, then the whole challenge is getting more complex, and then you need maybe a bigger model. But I'm still convinced that if we would manage to communicate the basic principles of excellence, and you have just repeated in different words what I said, I think we have just the same understanding, then I think more organizations would use excellence. Exactly. Since a complex, sophisticated model where you have to pay money to learn it and to be an assessor and then be trained, and is a barrier, is a natural barrier. And if we want more organizations around the world to be excellent, and I mean, everybody would profit from better organizations. May this be a governmental organization or police organization or a hospital, or, you know, it's not always about profit organizations. Everybody profits from them. So if we would help organizations to understand the basic principles that are so close to common sense, then I think we could really make the world better towards excellence. Indeed. Although this is a never-ending story, of course.
Exactly. And that actually that we said, all the companies can use the business excellence model, what you said, or should use the business excellence model. Because the reason behind the failure of many companies that they lost this cycle, as I said. And there that they have difficulties. And also like the startups, many startups fail because maybe they have a very good idea, because maybe the customer really look for, but they don't maybe have the related the aspect that they can understand what the employees that they need, because then they leave the companies. Or maybe in another case, maybe they don't care about the society. And then they have difficulties with the government, with the legal aspect, with another. So as we said, that if we have this review of all the stakeholder needs, then you can streamline a way of working and implementing excellence. Then the failing aspect of many companies that they have, that you can eliminate. And then you can have, and you can have a lot of companies that we can call excellence in the world.
And that's exactly the right approach. And if I think back, I had the pleasure to help some startups over the last couple of years with excellence, and I discovered horrible, basic problems and mistakes, simple mistakes. You know, and I remember a startup where the oldest guy was, I think, 27, and they had enormous communication problems. I mean, these few teams didn't even communicate with each other. That's incredible. You know, young people in their 20s don't communicate. Or another startup in England that I helped to improve. We found out very, very easily that the two bosses, who were 27 and 28, they behaved like presidents of multi-billion-dollar organizations, okay? Didn't communicate with their people. Took the biggest shares of money for themselves, flew around with private jets, and didn't even give free coffee to their people. So, you know, and this is maybe something that you can confirm, Murat. business excellence, or call it excellence overall, is about basic things. It's, first of all, not about sophisticated secrets or whatever. It's about basic things. It's about communication. It's about doing things right. It's about reward and recognition, values like respect or tolerance. And this is where it all starts. And this is why it's so much fun and pleasure to work in this field of business.
And it's very important for the society, as we said, as the people who are the working in the companies, that they are part of society. And the business excellence model, not only there, is also another society stakeholder, that who are the environments. Like, you should be very good citizen as an organization. What we discussed in the first series, like of excellence talk about sustainability. And the way that is one of your stakeholders in the business excellence is society. The organization should need practices, how they can be green, how they can be a good citizen that they can support to other people in the world, and how they can be good in terms of fulfilling all the legal or the regulatory requirements. So therefore, it's also very helpful that what we have, the business excellence model, can create a sustainable world. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And society is no abstract thing. It is very concrete. It is the environment. It is the cleanliness of the water. It is the waste that you produce, things that are tangible, that happen every day and that can be improved. So yes, excellence is extremely helpful also in the current debate about climate change or any other society problems and issues.
Exactly. I'm very proud, as I mentioned, that GIS Europe achieved the Global Excellence Award this year. Thanks to the long years that our family of companies, that they brought the mindset of continuous improvement, excellence, and then we use the business excellence model, what we say EFGAM. We use also your simplified model over the last year, which helped us really a lot to translate this business excellence model of EFGAM to a way that we can implement very easy to explain to all our associates internally and implement it in a very easy way. And I'm very proud that we got 5 role model practices that had been recognized by EFGAM, and there actually that we have seen that all these role model practices are really precious for the other companies that they can learn. And that actually, if you see these role model practices, is the aspect of resulted from the aspect of how the excellence mindset and thinking had been integrated to organization.
Yeah, and it goes back to the core of your family business, and I hope I remember this correctly, and it's called Chisi no Kokoro, the heart of the organization, right? That has been a tradition since many, many years. I think it's almost 100 years of GC now. And these Japanese values have been translated into European values, into other values around the world, adapted to the needs of people and organizations in different societies, extremely successful. So this is probably one of the biggest success factors of your organization, that you have such a set of strong values that are solid like a rock, and they are still valid today after so many years. That's fantastic.
Indeed, and that actually in the ceremony of EFGAM Global Excellence Award, the owner of the company, the Mr. Makoto Nakao, had described this way that, and he promised during the ceremony that we achieved this award, and he promised that he will continue to satisfy all our stakeholders in the future with the audience of everyone. And it's resulted from, of course, that what we believe that is coming from a culture of the organization, how we embedded in the company. And then, as we said, this excellence model can really help us to really maintain them in the future.
So if we try to summarize, it's really, what is excellence? If we want to explain it in a sentence or two, then it's probably, it all starts with a set of values, with a set of tangible, true values, as you have them and as other organizations have them. And then it's to take true care of your stakeholders and listen and create high-level answers, as we call the strategy, to make it happen, and then optimize all the small little things in the organization, and at the end trying to create more advantage, more value for all your stakeholders in the best possible balanced way. Exactly. And do this again and again and again, and never stop doing this. And review what you have. Even if you're very good, then it's not good enough. And this is probably the mindset that creates, at the end of the day, such excellent organizations like GC. Congratulations again. Wow.
Thank you, Christian. And I want to also say it's important always, during the crisis time and after the crisis time. And I want to ask the question to you, what do you think that, especially in the crisis time, this kind of business excellence model could help you? What is the...
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, fantastic question. Unfortunately, I observe that right now we are still in the middle of this corona crisis, although some lockdowns are released now, but still we are in the core of this. Most organizations don't care about anything related to excellence. They just fight for survival. So what you could argue is they should have done this before, of course. They should have prepared their organization, since doing excellence is also very closely related to risk management. Yeah, if you feel some signs, some signals that something may come against you that might hurt you, then you can prepare, and you can do some things proactively. So if organizations did not prepare well, your question is, can they still use excellence tools during the crisis? Yes, of course they can. Since all these excellence approaches that we know, and even the very simple basic version of it, help you to find ways into the future, safe ways into the future, low risk ways into the future. This is, I think, the big value of using excellence models in the crisis. Since you have to change things. The world will look different after this corona crisis. And if organizations, small or big, use these tools, they will help them to find the best possible way with a high level of certainty.
Indeed, what you said. And on the other hand, if we have more companies like that, they are using the business excellence models, they can be good citizens in the world, because especially in the crisis time, that we need these companies, that they can be really good to their associate, they can be good to their customer, they can be good for their for the society.
Of course.
So that is getting very important. So for the work that we can get these kind of approaches.
And one of these aspects, I think we've discussed in our Excellence Talk series #1, in the first one a few days ago, when we said, is it really a conflict between opening up a country and trying to go back to business and earn money and go for profit again? And that's obviously what everybody's thinking right now. It's May 2020, right in the middle of the corona crisis. Is it really enough, or should we at least balance this with climate goals, with society aspects, and with the broad goals that are important to manage the world and manage the limited resources in the world? And this is only one of these big aspects where excellence models can help us to find answers. What should we do? How should we do it? And what is probably a good answer? Nobody knows exactly. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. But excellence models help you, and I'm deeply convinced after many, many years, good excellence models help you to reduce the risk of making wrong decisions.
So we have been concluded that business excellence model can help us in any time, during the time of crisis and afterwards. And what do you think that it's your conclusion that we can also have?
That is the conclusion, Murat. I'm sure about that. So any good excellence model can help us anytime. Of course, it would be wise to use time and money, in good times to prepare for bad times. This is what my my father told me, and he was in the Second World War. Okay, so there are some truths probably that can be used all the time, and this is it. So probably that's the best use of excellence model, to use them in good times to prepare for bad times. But even if you did not provide for this, and you got stuck in a desperate situation, like now, okay, millions of organizations, small and big, got stuck in this Corona crisis. They can still use this excellence approach to find better ways out of this crisis. Make a good decision between different alternatives. As you said, Murat, before, there are always alternatives, always different options, always different scenarios. Which one to choose? Excellence models help you to make a good decision. So in a way, they are a wonderful risk management as well.
Exactly. So now I'm in Tikopia, and I decided that it's the best for me and for the world. It was a right choice. Thanks to Alexander for this recommendation. And with the what we call as an excellence, with the business excellence model, hope the world will be the same what we have in the Tikopia, and it will be hopefully the bright future for all of us. Thank you, Christian, for the very nice conversation. And we will be continuing with the third session very soon with another guest.
Absolutely, Murat. I enjoy every minute of discussion with you. Thank you very much for having me, for being my partner and friend. And let's continue this.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Murat. Bye-bye.